Oh hello, last time we took a look at Crash Bandicoot was with the PS1 series of games. Now, I do think that they went out with a bit of a wet fart with Crash Bash, but you can't deny that Crash 2, Crash 3, and Crash Team Racing sort of made Crash the mascot of the PlayStation, and he had a very strong run during that time. But it's no secret that starting with the PlayStation 2, Crash would begin his downward spiral that would lead to his eventual dormancy for several years, all starting with his PS2 debut, Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. Not just his debut on the PS2, but also as a multi-platform series, as this game would be released on GameCube and Xbox as well. And ironically, the PS2 version would get the short end of the stick, with this being infamous for its load times, although this would be fixed in the Greatest Hits release, which is the one that I'm playing for this video. Being the first mainline Crash game to be developed without Naughty Dog at the helm, this game went through the ringer during development. At first, it was supposed to be a free-roaming game called Crash Bandicoot Worlds, which would have had Mark Cerny from Sony as the lead for the project, but Universal would have a falling out with him and the project would get scrapped. Traveler's Tales would be the developers to pick up where the project left off, and they would have to drop the free-roaming concept and stick with the classic formula, which in my opinion is the right call, not just because this gameplay and level design is what I like about Crash, but I think for the first game on new hardware it makes more sense to play it safe, stick with what you know, especially considering that this is their first Crash game. And also the fact that they were only given 12 months to rebuild the game from scratch, and man, at times does it show. The premise of this game is that Uka Uka is fed up with Cortex for not being able to beat Crash, something that he failed to help him do. So Cortex reveals that he's been continuing his work on creating animal soldiers and made one to rival Crash, Crunch Bandicoot. Yes, Crunch is not just the enemy in real life but also in the game, and I have to ask, did they know? But Cortex needs a power source to... You know what, I'm not actually sure why, but Uka Uka frees this new set of masks called the Elementals to give Crunch the edge that he needs. We don't learn much about the Elementals, and that kind of bothers me. All we know is that they are apparently responsible for most, if not all, natural disasters, and that the crystals can seal them because at this point, what can't they do? Well, seal them apparently because all 4 of them show up during their final boss, and Aku Aku says that we only need 5 to seal each one. Even their little cutscenes before levels, they're just so boring outside of the big names voicing them. And that unfortunately also goes for Crunch. This is an interesting premise. Crunch is the Bandicoot that Crash was supposed to be. And I wasn't expecting anything deep, but despite being the only boss in the game, I feel like everyone from Crash 3 got more out of their interactions. And that's right, Crunch is the only boss fight using one of the elemental masks during each fight. None of the other bosses in this intro cutscene do anything meaningful in this game, which really begs the question of why they're even here in the first place, considering they didn't have enough time to give them good looking models. My god, you can tell which models got the most care. Crash and Cortex look... well, fine is stretching it, but man, Tiny, Engine, Entropy, my god, even Coco, everyone in this game is looking pretty rough. Other than that though, I do think this game is pretty visually pleasing. It can be a bit dark at times, making it hard to see boxes and enemies, especially in the other water stages, and the depth perception problem is at its worst here in my opinion. But the levels look pretty nice. Sometimes they have some more camera movement than the past games. There's also a very nice visual variety in levels. You're not traveling through time, but you still visit a lot of distinct locations, and even a lot of the repeat level themes don't blend together that much. And there's some nice details like Aku Aku boxes bouncing with him trying to get out. Within the first few minutes of actually playing the game, I could tell something was off. It feels sluggish, and it's not too noticeable without playing it, but if you're used to the speed of the previous games, this game can definitely feel off. The slide jump also feels much worse. It's missing the burst of speed you usually get, though I find that regular jumps got the job done and then some though. This game takes a lot of cues from Crash 3. The warp room is pretty much the same setup, there are a ton of vehicles, the masks talk to you before levels sometimes and they don't say anything interesting, but not only does this game fail to stand out enough to be anything but a lesser Crash 3, most of what they try doesn't work and just makes the experience worse. The regular platforming stages are solid, but my god, there are so many vehicles and gimmicks and they don't explain anything to you. I'll start simple. Coco has platforming stages in this game. She's way less mobile than Crash, pretty much controlling like he did in Crash 1, but she has 2 attacks, a high kick and a low kick. And the low kick is never explained. It's meant to break boxes that are stacked without breaking the ones on top, something Crash can do by just standing still and spinning, but it's never explained, and I only knew that it existed in the first place because I pressed every button the moment that I got control of her. The end of one of the levels has this car chase segment, which is fine on its own, but I hop in and I immediately get run over by the Stampede, because while it does move on its own, you have to hold X to actually move fast. And in this race level, it just straight up blows. My god, I hated this race. The same goes for the scooter that Coco can ride. You have to mash to move faster, otherwise you'll die, but it doesn't give you any indication that that's the case. This bug thing you fly has to lock on before you can actually shoot. You're never told. You're never told that the submarine has bombs you can drop. And my god, these things suck. I already didn't like the water levels in Crash 3, but they're so big here and the environment blocks your view of these mines so often, it's hard to tell where you can go. Enemies blend in so you can't see them, and this submarine controls like shit. It's so heavy, it can't maneuver through these obstacles that you can't even see, so you'll just drift into a fish and explode. These levels are the main reason I decided I didn't even want to entertain the idea of completion. The rest of the levels are fine enough, but the thought of doing the relics in this thing killed any drive I had to try it. Which unfortunately makes going for the boxes in every other level pointless, but thankfully in a majority of these levels I still find it engaging to get the gems, and I got quite a few of them. It's really just the relics I didn't feel like putting up with. Like I said in the Crash 3 video, I enjoy how they make you face the levels in new ways, but there are just too many levels in this game that I don't even like playing through normally. The power-ups are also a downgrade from Crash 3, not really in what they are, it shares a lot of the same abilities, but rather their uses. Aside from the double jump, I didn't really get anything out of things like the Fruit Bazooka or Death Tornado Spin, and everyone has shit on the sneaking ability to use to cross lines of nitro crates, but somehow they're the second most used power-up behind the double jump, which does feel much better in this game compared to Crash 3. I've heard a lot about this game over the years, but now that I've actually sat down and played it through for myself, it's so much more than just a bad game and poor imitation of Crash 3. Despite the 12-month crunch, there was so much promising here. Take the whole last world for example. All 5 of these levels I think are great. I think the ball rolling stages fit right in with Crash games. It does suck to see former bosses relegated to being obstacles, but hey, look at the bright side. Someone taught Dingo Dial how to flash step, because how did he get there before I did? If the entire game had this quality, I would put this game up there with Crash 2 and 3, because like I said, the regular platforming levels are genuinely fun. Coco's levels I think are fun, the ball rolling levels are fun, but there's just way too much holding it back. Too many parts that were boring, confusing, or downright infuriating. Now that I've played the game for myself, it's hard not to see what could have been. I won't say I'll never play this again or try to get all the gems, see the secret ending where Crunch becomes a good guy one day, but it's such a massive step down from the games that came before it, and all of this potential ultimately means nothing, as at best this game is just fine. Speaking of potential, people say that this game has it, which is the next game we're going to be taking a look at, the next mainline Crash game, Crash Twinsanity. I know that Crash Nitro Kart technically predates it, but I figured it made more sense to look at that and tag team racing in one video about the spin-offs like I did with the PS1 games, and I am very curious about this game because I've heard just as much on this game as I have Crash Wrath of Cortex, and it's a little all over the place with whether or not this is a good game, so we will find out, and you should subscribe to be notified when that video goes up, and all of my other videos which are really good, and it is a moral failing if you have not watched them. Until then, I hope you have a great day, a beautiful morning, an awesome night. If it's your birthday, then happy birthday, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.